Hi, this is Sydney Hooker, and this is my tutorial on brood reduction and parasitism. We're going to first start off with an outline. The first thing up is a review. We're just going to briefly talk about parent-offspring conflict theory. This is not going to be focused on for too long, as Stone's going to be focusing on it in his tutorial. We're then going to move on to brood reduction and specifically highlight hatching asynchrony. And then we're going to finish off with brood parasitism, specifically focusing on the differences between conspecific parasitism and interspecific parasitism. So, parent-offspring conflict theory. The main thing you need to remember from this is as the parent fitness increases, the offspring fitness decreases. This is because the parent and the offspring have different goals. The parent wants a higher reproductive fitness, while the offspring wants to survive and grow until reproductive age. And again, focusing on figure 14.7 is really important, as well as the term parental investment. As we move on to brood reduction, we're going to first go with the brief little summary definition. Parents provide different levels of care between siblings. A decrease in parental care to lesser siblings allows for greater fitness of surviving siblings. So essentially, I have 3 birds on the side, and you see between these 3 birds, which one is the most likely not to survive? And you can kind of tell it's the one that is the smallest. So the parent decides it's not worth putting so much parental investment into this child. And so brood reduction occurs, and the smallest ends up not surviving because of less care. And then next, I'm going to read a direct quote from the book. If the cost of parental care for current offspring exceeds the benefit of such care, then the parents should cease providing care for that offspring. Again, this sounds really familiar. It's again parent-offspring conflict theory. So, between these two, the one that's most likely to survive is going to be the biggest bird. And so the parent decides, since the cost is not worth it, the smaller of the two is going to pass, leading us with the one that is the best bang for your buck, if there's a better way of putting it. Moving further on, we're going to focus on hatching asynchrony, which is defined as differences in egg hatching timing allows for adaptive parental care. So this is basically not all the eggs are going to hatch at the same time, and it allows the parent to properly decide how much care and parental investment and resources does it want to put towards each offspring. And with the first one hatching, the parent puts a great amount of parental investment and a great amount of resources. As the second one is birthed at a later time, the parent doesn't have as much resources or parental investment as they already have another child. And so less is being put towards this child, but it's not above the threshold of cost benefit. But with the third child's birth, at the latest time, the parent realizes the cost is above the effort it wants to put in. It's above profit. So, again, the lowest amount of parental effort and the lowest amount of resources, which leads to brood reduction and essentially the child's death. So yeah, that is a form of how brood reduction can occur with hatching asynchrony and resource availability. As we move on to brood parasitism, we're going to first focus on a definition. So, a female brood parasite lays eggs in the nest of another female. So there's 2 types. With conspecific, there's pure parasite and nesting parasite. So pure parasite is when they put all their eggs into other conspecific nests. Conspecific, con in Latin means with, so with same species. It is among the same species. So, with the pure parasite, it's putting it all with conspecifics. But, as you can tell by the graph 14.16, it's worse off, actually, than the non-parasites. What they discovered in this graph is that nesting parasites, which do a combination, they keep some of the eggs and they also distribute it to other conspecifics. That allowed for the highest reproductive success and the highest survival rate between the two, which shows the incentive of why parasitism can occur. With interspecific parasitism, as the fitness of the parent increases, the host's fitness decreases. So the host, in this case, is going to be of another species, because interspecific means between. So it's not with, it's between. So a different species, between different species, right? It's shifted between the two. So as the eggs are being added to the new nest, the host now has to take care of these eggs, is going to have a lower fitness as a higher cost is occurring, while the parent of the original children is going to have a higher fitness as they're aiming for continued reproduction. So we're going to specifically focus on acceptance versus rejection with interspecific parasitism. So acceptance versus rejection is in correlation to the host and whether or not they accept the parasitic egg, right? So there's a couple ways this can be counteracted. So with brood parasite evolution, the brood parasite will originally not have an egg that matches. If you look at the one on the left at the top, let's say this is the host egg, and the one on the right, let's say it's a cuckoo egg, right? It looks smaller and it has a different pattern. So this leads to a higher rejection rate. So, as the brood parasite evolves over time, it slowly adapts until the egg is in similar size and similar coloration to the host, leading to less rejection. But they're not the only ones evolving. The host is also evolving. So the host, if they have a higher history of evolution, will always end up rejecting the egg, because it leads to a coevolutionary race, right, between these two parties, right? So acceptance and rejection is really dependent on what evolutionary level the parasite is at and the host is at. And that is my tutorial. Let me know if you have any questions.